The galaxy was wide, filled with ancient empires and powerful races. For thousands of years, they ruled the stars with fleets of shining warships and weapons that could tear moons apart. To them, power was everything, and respect was given only to the strong. And in this endless sea of strength, one race was always laughed at: humans. Humanity was still young compared to the great empires. Their colonies were small, their fleets thin, and their weapons old. Where alien ships could split planets in half, human ships struggled even against pirates. Where alien soldiers carried weapons carved with centuries of tradition, humans carried rifles that looked weak and fragile. In the Grand Council of the Galaxy, where leaders of all major empires gathered, humans were often ignored. When they spoke, the chamber echoed with laughter. The Zorath, a reptilian empire with scales like iron, once said, "Humans are nothing but children playing with metal toys." The Kraylan, insect-like creatures with claws sharp as blades, clicked their jaws and hissed, "A colony of ants thinks it can stand against storms." Even the Veyari, who called themselves peaceful, smirked and said, "Humans are fragile. They will break when true war comes." Everywhere the galaxy mocked them. Human ambassadors felt the sting of humiliation. Human traders were pushed aside. Human soldiers were treated as little more than fodder. And yet humanity said nothing. They bowed, they smiled, they endured. To the rest of the galaxy, it looked like weakness. To humans, it was patience. On Earth, the people remembered every insult. They remembered every colony burned by raiders, while the galaxy did nothing to help. They remembered every ambassador returning home with shame written on their face. They remembered the laughter. And behind their silence, they carried a secret. Generations ago, long before humans even reached the stars, ancient builders had left something behind. Buried deep inside certain worlds, hidden beneath oceans and deserts, were structures so large and strange that no one dared touch them. When humanity finally unlocked space travel, they discovered the truth. These were not just structures. They were sleeping giants, machines so massive they could only be called titans, machines shaped like worlds themselves. Only a handful of humans knew this. The secret was passed from leaders to scientists, guarded in shadows. The warships were asleep, waiting, and humanity waited with them, but the galaxy did not know. The galaxy only saw weakness. At a grand gathering in the Galactic Council, the mockery reached its peak. Human representatives stood before thousands of alien leaders. The Zorath laughed loudly. "Why do you sit here? You have no fleets worth speaking of. You cannot even defend your outer colonies." The Kraylan clicked their claws in agreement. "Perhaps you should become servants to stronger races. You may live longer that way." The chamber erupted with laughter. The sound of alien voices filled the hall, cruel and sharp. The humans stood silent. Their faces showed no anger, no fear. They listened. They endured. And when the laughter finally died, the human ambassador spoke softly. "You laugh at us," he said, his voice calm. "You call us weak. You call us children. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps we are young. Perhaps our fleets are small. But do not mistake patience for weakness. Do not mistake silence for fear." The aliens roared again, mocking the words. Some slapped their claws against the ground. Others hissed, "Empty words from an empty race." But the human ambassador only bowed and left the chamber. Behind him, the galaxy kept laughing. Far away on a quiet human colony at the edge of known space, the ground trembled. Scientists gathered in a hidden facility deep beneath the sands. Machines older than history began to stir. Lights the size of mountains flickered awake, casting a glow that reached the surface. A sound like a heartbeat shook the air, slow and deep. The sleeping giant was turning in its sleep. The galaxy thought humanity weak. The galaxy thought they could be ignored. But in the darkness of forgotten worlds, something was waiting, something far beyond the imagination of the alien empires. And soon, the galaxy would learn the truth. They had laughed at humanity for too long. The desert of Eridani Prime was endless, stretching farther than the eye could see. Wind carried the sting of sand, and the sky above burned red under its twin suns. To anyone who visited, it looked like nothing more than a dead world, a barren colony with no real value. The aliens never cared for it, and even most humans forgot it existed. But beneath the dunes, hidden under layers of rock and dust, something ancient slept. Deep inside the planet, a vast chamber stretched wider than cities. Towers of metal black as night rose into the shadows. They were not built by any known hand, not by human, not by alien. They were older, so old that even the stones of Earth's pyramids would seem like children's toys in comparison. The humans who worked here called it the Hollow. To them, this place was more than a secret base. It was a graveyard of giants. Dr. Elias Wren, one of the lead scientists, stood at the edge of a massive platform, looking down at the colossal form below. It was not a building. It was not a machine. It was something in between. The shape of it curved like a mountain, with lines carved deep across its surface. The design looked alive, almost organic, yet every part of it pulsed faintly with buried power. "This one is almost ready," Elias whispered to himself. His voice shook, half with fear, half with awe. The giant stirs. Beside him, Commander Lyra Kalin watched silently. She had been assigned to guard the Hollow for years, yet even she never grew used to the sight. "Do you think it remembers?" she asked softly. Elias turned to her, frowning. "Remembers? It is not alive," Lyra shook her head. "Then why does it feel like it is watching us?" Elias said nothing. He had asked himself the same question 1,000 times. The structures beneath Eridani Prime were not just machines. They felt aware, as if waiting for someone or something to give them a reason to rise. The secret had been passed through generations. When humans first discovered space travel, explorers stumbled upon ruins like these on forgotten worlds. Most scientists dismissed them as natural formations. But a few saw the truth. They were sleeping warships, planet-sized engines of destruction, built by hands unknown. Humanity did not create them, but humanity could awaken them. For centuries, the secret was buried. Only a few leaders knew, and they guarded it fiercely. The giants were never to be touched unless humanity faced extinction. That time, it seemed, had now come. Outside the Hollow, the galaxy's mockery grew louder. Alien empires laughed at humanity, crushed their colonies, and called them weak. Reports of fresh attacks reached Earth daily. The Kraylan swarms raided border worlds. The Zorath fleets captured human traders and sold them as slaves. And the Veyari, who claimed to be peaceful, turned away, letting it all happen. The Council of Earth finally gave its order. Wake them. In the Hollow, machines roared to life. Engines buried for millennia began to hum. Energy coursed through colossal conduits, sparking like lightning. The ground shook as if the planet itself was alive. Slowly, painfully, the giant's heart began to beat. Lyra gripped the railing tight as the chamber trembled. "If this thing wakes, the galaxy will never be the same." "That is the point," Elias said grimly. His eyes gleamed with something dangerous, something beyond fear. "Let them laugh now. Soon they will see what sleeps beneath their feet." Above the surface, colonists felt the tremors. They ran into the streets, staring at the dunes that rippled as if something massive moved beneath them. Dust storms rose, lightning cracked across the sky. The planet was no longer silent. Something deep below had opened its eyes, and far away in the Grand Council, alien empires kept mocking humanity. They had no idea what was stirring in the shadows. They had no idea that the race they laughed at carried titans under their very worlds. Soon the galaxy would learn. The first attack came without warning. On the edge of human space, the colony world of Helios burned. Alien warships cut through the skies like blades of fire. The Kraylan swarm descended from orbit, their ships shaped like jagged claws, their weapons raining plasma on helpless cities. Towers crumbled, oceans boiled, and millions of human voices cried out for help that never came. From orbit, the Kraylan commander laughed. "Weak creatures," he hissed through rows of sharp teeth. "This is not war, this is cleansing." The galaxy watched, and once again it mocked humanity. Broadcasts spread across the stars, images of human ships destroyed, of civilians running in terror, of flames swallowing entire colonies. Alien commentators smirked. "The humans are finished. Their fleets are nothing. Their spirit is broken." But deep beneath the sands of Eridani Prime, the giant stirred. In the Hollow, alarms screamed as the colossal machine awoke. Lights the size of cities blazed to life. Metal groaned like thunder as structures shifted after sleeping for countless ages. The desert surface cracked open, splitting wide as towers of steel rose like mountains. Sandstorms tore across the horizon, blinding colonists who could only watch in awe and fear. Commander Lyra Kalin stood on the control deck, her voice steady despite the tremors shaking the chamber.
Status report.
Dr. Elias Wren shouted above the roar of machines. The core is active. Systems are stabilizing. The warship is waking faster than expected. The ground shook harder. Fair sound echoed through the chamber, deep and unearthly, like a heartbeat large enough to rattle the skies. The first of the Titans, hidden for millennia, was opening its eyes. Above the planet, the Kraylan ships detected the tremors. Their scanners lit up with impossible readings. The commander leaned forward in confusion. What is this? The planet itself. It is moving. The desert split wide, and from beneath the dunes the warship rose. It was larger than mountains, larger than any ship ever seen. Its surface was black as night, covered with glowing lines that pulsed like veins of fire. Cannons the size of cities turned slowly, locking into place. Engines ignited, shaking the air and sky. To the Kraylan it looked as if an entire world had come alive. This cannot be, the alien commander cried out. His crew panicked, their voices rising in fear. It is not possible. No race can build such a thing. But possibility no longer mattered. The warship's core flared, a light brighter than suns, and then, for the first time in thousands of years, it fired. A single beam of energy erupted from its main cannon, crossing the void like a spear of fire. Entire Kraylan fleets, dozens of ships armed with plasma and shields, vanished in one blinding flash. The explosion lit the stars, tearing through ships as if they were made of paper. Silence followed, as if the galaxy itself had forgotten how to breathe. On Eridani Prime, the colonists stared at the sky, their terror turning to awe. For the first time, they saw hope not in fragile fleets, but in giants older than time. Commander Lyra whispered, "The galaxy will never laugh again." But Dr. Elias was not smiling. He watched the warship rise higher into the sky, its cannons glowing, its engines roaring. His heart pounded with both pride and dread. This power, it is beyond anything we understand, and now it belongs to us. Far across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. Alien empires who had mocked humans now stared in silence at the recordings. Whole councils froze, their leaders pale with fear. The laughter that once filled the galaxy was gone, replaced by something heavier. Whispers spread. What else are they hiding? How many giants sleep beneath their worlds? The Kraylan survivors fled, their fleets shattered. For the first time in centuries they felt fear, not of another empire but of humanity. And on Earth the Council gathered in silence, their faces grim. Humanity had unleashed its secret. The galaxy had seen the first Titan awake. And this was only the beginning, because Eridani Prime was not the only. World-hiding shadows, the galaxy was no longer laughing. The destruction of the Kraylan fleet at Eridani Prime had silenced even the boldest voices in the Grand Council. The recording of the event spread across every star system, an entire alien armada erased by a single blast from a ship the size of a world. The Zorath warlords, once proud and mocking, sat in uneasy silence. The insectoid Kraylan, who had called humanity ants, now whispered in fear. Even the so-called peaceful Veyari admitted in private that humanity was no longer weak, but they all believed the same thing. Perhaps it was only one machine. Perhaps it was luck. Perhaps it was all humanity had. They were wrong. Beneath the surface of distant human colonies, other giants began to stir. On the ice world of Caloran, glaciers split apart as a massive shape pushed through the frozen crust. White storms swirled around towers of metal as the second Titan rose, its body glowing blue against the darkness. On the ocean world of Thalos, waves the size of mountains crashed as water boiled. From the abyss, a third Titan emerged, rising from the depths like a god of the sea. Its armor gleamed wet and black, cannons glowing under the waves as it climbed into the storm-ridden sky. And on the jungle world of Viridian, roots and vines tore apart as the ground cracked open. The earth shook as the fourth Titan stood tall, its shadow swallowing entire forests. Birds scattered into the air, screaming, as a weapon larger than the jungle itself locked into place. Across the galaxy, humans watched the awakenings with awe. And aliens watched with dread. In the hollow on Eridani Prime, Commander Lyra Kalen stood beside Dr. Elias Wren as transmissions poured in from across human space. Every screen showed a new Titan rising, each one shaking its world with raw power, Lyra whispered. So many. We were never weak. We were only waiting. Elias nodded, though his face was pale. We were victims once. We hid our giants because we feared the galaxy. But now the galaxy will fear us. Alien fleets scrambled to respond. On the border of Veari space, patrol ships locked their weapons as the Calaran Titan rose into orbit. They fired volley after volley, plasma and missiles streaking through the void. The Titan did not even move. Its shields absorbed the storm of fire, glowing for only a moment before fading again. Then, slowly, one cannon shifted. It fired. The patrol fleet ceased to exist. The Veari screamed in panic, retreating, leaving behind only silence and debris. Insectoid Kralin swarms tried to trap the Thalos Titan in orbit. Thousands of claw-shaped ships surrounded it, spewing plasma fire. But the ocean world's Titan opened its chest, releasing a storm of energy pulses that scattered the swarm like ash in the wind. Hundreds of Kralin ships were gone in seconds. The survivors fled into hyperspace. The galaxy trembled. For every empire that once mocked humanity, the message was clear. The Titans were not myths. They were real. They were many, and they belonged to humans. On Earth, the Council gathered again. This time, there was no laughter from aliens, no dismissive words, no insults. Instead, transmissions poured in from every major empire. The voices were filled with fear, anger, and desperation. "Deactivate your giants," one alien ruler demanded. "You threaten the balance of the galaxy," another shouted. "You are reckless children playing with the fire of gods," a third cried. But the humans did not bow this time. The council chairman looked into the camera, his voice calm but heavy. "You called us weak. You laughed while we bled. Now you see our answer. We will never kneel again." Across the galaxy, silence followed. Every empire knew what those words meant. The age of mocking humans was over. The age of fearing them had begun. And as the Titans stood in the skies of 4 different worlds, their cannons glowing like new suns, the galaxy realized a truth it had never wanted to face. The children had awakened their monsters, and the monsters were hungry. The galaxy was no longer united in laughter. Now it was united in fear. The Kralin swarms, once so confident, retreated to the shadows of their hive worlds. The Zorath warlords scrambled to strengthen their defenses. The Veari Council begged for peace, but it was too late. The awakening of the Titans had changed everything. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity had become the storm. From the icy world of Calaran, the first Titan moved into space. Its engines glowed brighter than suns, propelling the colossal machine with terrifying speed. Behind it followed human fleets, small compared to alien armadas, but now shielded by the giants. No longer fragile, no longer mocked, these fleets carried the power of gods. On the ocean world of Thalos, the Titans' cannons thundered again. Entire Kralin fleets dissolved into ash, their formations torn apart with a single strike. Human ships chased the survivors, pushing them out of human space. For the first time, humans were not defending. They were hunting. Commander Lyra Kalin stood in the command center of Eridani Prime's Titan, watching as maps lit up with victories. One after another, human colonies once considered weak were liberated. Alien outposts that mocked humans were reduced to silence. "We are turning the tide," she said, her voice steady but heavy. Dr. Elias Wren beside her did not celebrate. His eyes lingered on the readings from the Titan's core. "We are winning, yes," he said. "But the Titans, they are not just machines. The more they fight, the more alive they seem." Lyra frowned. "Alive?" he nodded. "Listen to them. Can't you hear it? The sound is not just engines, it is heartbeat." Before Lyra could answer, a new transmission came through. A human fleet on the border of Zorath space had engaged the enemy. Alien warlords had gathered their largest armada yet, determined to prove humanity was still nothing compared to their ancient power. Hundreds of Zorath ships filled the void, forming a wall of steel. But then the jungle titan from Viridian entered the system. The Zorath warlords laughed when they first saw it, until it fired. A beam of energy cut through their defenses, ripping battleships in half like paper. Human fleets surged forward, striking with precision. For every human vessel lost, 10 Zorath ships burned. Within hours, the mighty armada was shattered, its survivors fleeing into the dark. Word of the battle spread like fire. Entire races who once mocked humanity now whispered in fear. "If they unleash their titans on our worlds," one alien leader murmured, "we will not survive." But humanity was not seeking peace anymore. On Earth, the Council debated. Some leaders spoke with rage in their voices. They laughed while our people burned. They enslaved our traders, destroyed our colonies. Now they will pay. Others were cautious. "If we have power, yes, but if we rule by fear, will we become the monsters we once hated?" The debate was fierce, but the Titans themselves gave the answer. They moved forward, guided by human command into alien territory. For the first time in history, the galaxy saw humans not as victims, not as prey, but as conquerors. On Helios, the colony world once destroyed by the Kraylan, survivors returned. They rebuilt their homes under the shadow of a Titan that now guarded the skies. Children pointed upward, their eyes shining not with fear but with pride. "That one is ours," they whispered. "It will protect us." Yet even in victory, unease grew. Dr. Elias Wren kept studying the Titans. He noticed patterns in their power, rhythms in their movements. They were following human orders, yes, but sometimes just for a second it felt as if they acted on their own. "They are waking more and more," he said quietly. "And if they are alive, if they truly think, then what will they want?" Commander Lyra stared out at the stars. Humanity was winning every battle. The galaxy was bowing at last. But in her heart she wondered the same thing. The war was turning. The tide belonged to humanity now. But tides never stop. They rise, they fall, and sometimes they drown everything. The galaxy had stopped laughing. The mocking voices, the cruel whispers, the endless ridicule that once followed humanity across the stars. Gone. In their place was silence. A silence born of fear. A silence born of awe. Humanity had done what no one believed possible. With the Titans awakened, the ancient war machines once buried beneath human soil, the balance of power had shattered. The Kraylan swarms scattered into the void, their hives left to burn. The Zorath warlords, once so arrogant, now begged for treaties. The Vayari, who once called humans child species, sent envoys with trembling hands. But humanity did not answer with kindness. The pain of centuries, the scars of mockery and blood had grown into something darker. The Titans did not stop. They marched from system to system, tearing down fleets, silencing fortresses, reducing whole empires to rubble. Where once humans had begged for mercy, now it was the galaxy that cried out for it. Commander Lyra Kalen stood in the control chamber of Eridani Prime's Titan, watching as another alien fleet disintegrated under the fire of the giant's cannons. She had stopped counting battles. Victories no longer felt like triumphs. They felt like routine. "They cannot resist us anymore," her officer whispered. "They can't," Lyra replied. Her voice was cold, steady. "But the question is, should we keep going?" Beside her, Dr. Elias Wren had grown pale and restless. He stared at the readings from the Titan's core, his hands shaking. "We are not just fighting with machines," he said. "They are changing. The Titans listen, yes, but sometimes they move before we command, as if they know what we want before we even speak." Lyra looked at him sharply. "Are you saying they think?" "I am saying," Elias whispered, "that maybe they always did. And now they are awake again." The silence in the chamber was heavy. Outside, the Titan fired another blast, reducing an alien capital ship into glowing fragments. The battle was already won, but the Titan kept firing, as though it felt satisfaction in destruction. Word spread quickly across the galaxy. The Titans were not only weapons, they were alive. Ancient guardians, or perhaps ancient monsters, reborn through humanity's pain. Some said they were built by a forgotten race that once ruled the stars. Others whispered that they had been sleeping, waiting for humanity's suffering to call them. On Earth, the Council faced a choice. Some leaders demanded absolute domination. "Let them feel what we felt," they roared. "Let them bow before us as we once bowed before them." Others trembled at what humanity had become. "If we turn into conquerors, then we are no different from them," they warned. But the Titans gave humanity little time to decide. They continued forward, relentless, as though following a will of their own. Human fleets followed, but more and more it felt as if the Titans were leading. One by one, alien empires fell silent. Cities that once rang with laughter at human weakness now lay in ruins. The galaxy had no more jokes left to tell. Only ashes, only fear. And yet, in the quiet of her chamber, Commander Lyra Kalen felt the weight of it. Humanity had become what they once hated, not victims, not prey, but monsters. Dr. Elias Wren stood at the window of the Titan, his eyes fixed on the burning horizon of another conquered world. His voice was soft, almost broken. "We wanted respect," he whispered. "We wanted to be seen as equals. But now we are gods to them. Hand gods are feared, never loved." The Titan beneath them rumbled, its engines pulsing like the heartbeat of some great beast. Lyra could feel it deep in her bones. The machine was alive, and it was listening. Outside, the stars were silent. No laughter, no mockery, no defiance. Humanity had finally silenced the galaxy, but in that silence there was no peace. Only the echo of the question that would never leave them: had they won their freedom? Or had they become the very monsters they swore to destroy? The galaxy would never laugh again, but perhaps one day it would weep.